Hey, what is going on everyone? In today's video, I want to give you a first look at Prismverse Clash, a brand new PvP scenario in Once Human. Now first off, I want to give a big thank you to Starry Studio for giving me early access to this test server for Prismverse Clash so that I can give you all a first look at what to expect. And just to clarify, this is just a test character on a test server, so I'm not getting a head start in any way. Also, since this is a test server, of course things are subject to change compared to the launch version, and there's actually a few things we weren't able to access here that I will detail later, but otherwise everything should be very similar. And of course, if you end up enjoying the video, definitely drop a like and subscribe because I've got a lot more Prismverse Clash and Once Human content coming. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's talk about choosing a faction. Now unfortunately on this server, we weren't able to actually go through the faction choosing process as the characters that we're playing were already associated with a faction. But for those that don't know, there will be two factions in this scenario, the Mayflies and Rosetta. Now, as for choosing a faction, I believe it will work one of two ways. You will either be able to choose your faction when you sign up for your server, or you will choose a faction once you actually join the server. And there are two major differences between the factions. First, the appearance of the factions, and also the guaranteed specializations. Now, as for the appearance of the factions, there will be a unique set for each faction. The Mayflies will get the Fast Win Mayfly set here, and the Rosetta faction will get the Rosetta Vanguard set here. Now the descriptions for both of these aren't in English, so I've gone ahead and translated those, and it says that you'll be able to earn these through the seasonal scenario rewards. It also does mention that you'll be able to get them through the season shop. However, the season shop in this test server did not have those items, but it is possible they will have them in the launch version of this scenario. Also, I do believe that whatever faction you choose, you will only get access to that faction's cosmetic set. So if you choose the Mayflies faction, for example, I don't believe you'll be able to have access to the Rosetta fashion set. I am not 100% sure on that though, but that just makes sense to me. And just as an FYI, I am currently part of the Mayflies faction here, and if you go to your backpack, you'll be able to see that up in the top right. Now, the faction guaranteed specializations in the test server were not in English, so I've translated them and put them all into a spreadsheet. So if you want to do a deeper dive, I've linked that sheet in the description down below, but here's a summary of the specializations. So if we go to specializations, you'll notice that levels 5, 20, and 40 all have the faction icon for the faction that I'm in, which is Mayflies. If I was part of Rosetta, this would show the Rosetta icon here. And basically what this is indicating is that when I click on one of these, it will give me guaranteed specializations for that faction. Now you do have a chance to also get your faction specializations at these other levels. And I even noticed, as you can see here, I am part of the Mayflies faction. However, I was able to get some of the Rosetta specializations here at these other levels, so I'm not sure if that's 100% intended, but it seems like you will be able to mix and match different faction specializations. However, the main difference is that at levels 5, 20, and 40, you will get guaranteed specializations for your faction. If you're in the Rosetta faction, your guaranteed specializations are focused on drones. At level 5, I was presented with 4 different types of drones. A gathering drone that gathers the highest level of materials nearby, a firepower drone that can attack enemies from medium range, an exploration drone that will replace V when gliding and you won't lose altitude when gliding, but it will use more stamina, and a territory drone which has long-range shooting capabilities and buffs the attack power of all friendly turrets and traps by 50%. Now, all of these drones can be upgraded by using specialization materials that you unlock at levels 20 and 40. So you can see here for the Rosetta drone here, I have unlocked the Rosetta gathering drone. So if I choose these materials here, you can see that based on the type of material I use, whether it's a crystal or this copper ingot as the base one, you can see the stats increase based on the level of crystal. And then if I choose the second category here, this is where you can choose some of those upgrade modules in order to get different effects. And then the third category here has some more upgrade modules as well that you can use to get different effects. You can upgrade modules that buff how much the drone collects, new attacks, and even the ability to heal. All of the details for the upgrades are in the sheet that I mentioned, so I definitely recommend taking a look if you want to do a deeper dive. Also, we have a ton of helpful sheets and resources in our Discord, so feel free to join that as well. I'll also link it in the description. Now, if you're in the Mayfly faction, things get a little more complicated. At level 5, your guaranteed specializations are injection items that unlock at your supplies workbench. There are 4 different types of injections that I was presented with, each of them focusing on a different aspect of the game. So in summary, the Nurture injection helps buff mining and logging, the Judgment injection helps buff combat stats, the Speed injection helps buff mobility, and the Elysium injection helps buff attack and defense for territory-related things. Now, when you use an injection, you'll be working on leveling up something new called a coherence level. You'll be able to see your coherence level as an icon right next to your health bar. How you level up your coherence level is based on what type of injection you chose. For example, if I choose the Nurture injection, which helps buff mining and logging, the more collecting or mining or logging I do, the higher my coherence level becomes. If I choose the Speed injection, which buffs mobility, I'll increase my coherence level for every 2 seconds of movement that I have. Now, why would you want to increase your coherence level? Because there are different effects that trigger based on what that level is, and the type of effect is based on the material used when crafting the injection. Now, in order to craft any of these injections, you'll need to utilize the Gene Extractor item, which also unlocks at the supplies workbench when you choose any injection type at level 5. While the Gene Extractor is in your backpack, you'll have a chance to get gene fragments when defeating deviants. However, the type of deviant will determine the type of gene fragment that you can get. These gene fragments are used to craft those injections at the supplies workbench and can alter the effects of the injection. There are 4 types of gene fragments: deviant fragments, anima fragments, starlith, and matterlith. Deviant fragments have a chance to drop when defeating any regular deviant on the map, such as the Gnar or the Charred Maniac or any regular deviant that you can find on the map. Anima fragments have a chance to drop when defeating any of the anima deviants on the map, such as the Watcher or the Agent, basically any of those deviants that will give you something afterward to use as a weapon. Starlith has a chance to drop when defeating any elite deviant on the map, such as the Arbiter here, or the Starwalker, or any elite deviant you can find on the map. And then lastly, Matterlith has a chance to drop when defeating any morphic enemy on the map, such as the Morphic Fridge, the Morphic Weapon Crate, the Morphic Armor Crate, or even just the regular Morphic Crate. Now, I have the Nurture Coherence injection unlocked, so let's take a look at the different effects we can get based on the different materials. So if I choose the Deviant Fragment here, you can see that we get a Gathering Yield. So it says at 10 coherence level, Mining Savage Strike Rate is plus 50%, and Mining Last Hit Yield is plus 100%. If we choose the Anima Fragment, you can see at level 10 of Coherence, while holding a pickaxe or chainsaw, movement speed is plus 15%, and the yield of log, sulfur, silver ore, gold ore, and stardust is plus 30%. And if we choose the second category here, you can see that Starlith at 30 coherence level consumes all coherence to increase final hit yield from logging and mining by 1000% for 5 seconds. And then if we go ahead and choose Matterlith, you can see at 30 coherence level, there is a small chance to trigger an oil gusher when mining in contested areas, granting 30 barreled crude oil to all allied players within 5 meters. Now, just like the drone upgrade modules, you can also unlock upgrade materials for the injections at levels 20 and 40. At level 20, you can choose a gene type that buffs the injection in different ways, such as increasing how many materials you collect or even damaging random enemies with lightning bolts. And these specific genes in the third category here can be crafted at the supplies workbench. So you can see I've unlocked the lightning gene here, which as you can see it says in combat, automatically select the nearest enemy within 20 meters every 10 seconds, generating a lightning strike beneath them after a 3-second delay, dealing damage equal to 4000% PSI intensity. And then at level 40, you can unlock different gene fabrics that can be used to buff armor in different ways, such as increasing durability or carrying capacity. So you can see I can create this Bastille gene fiber right here, and if I went and crafted that and then headed over to my gear workbench and chose armor crafting, I would be able to replace this last category here with one of those gene fabrics in order to get these different effects. So in a nutshell, the differences between the factions are Rosetta has drones that can be used in combat to collect resources or to buff other defenses, and Mayflies have injection items that can be used to buff combat stats, increase resource collection, or buff defenses. Now I have a video coming out very soon going more in depth on the differences between the factions, so be sure to subscribe to get notified about that. So let's take a look at the scenario details for Prismverse Clash. So I'm going to just head over to the season info tab here, and you'll see that the season sign up info is basically the same from what we've seen in the previous scenarios. But if we click on scenario features, the featured game mode is battle for Prism deviations, and the scenario features are fight and capture Prism energy for your faction. And then the map region is the eastern part of the now caught continent. So yes, it is the same map. However, there are some different rules, and we'll cover that a little bit later into the video. But essentially how this scenario works is that each faction is trying to capture Prism deviations in order to get Prism energy, because the Prism energy is your score for the faction. And then of course you can see a list of all the different deviations available on the server. However, only a select few of these deviations can actually be counted as Prism deviations, where you can get Prism energy for your faction. So I will put a chart up on the screen that the developers provided so you can see every single type of deviation that counts for Prism energy. And you will notice that there are two new deviations, and they are at the bottom of this list here. There is the Radiant one, and then this says Azure Dragon, but I believe this is actually called Berserkosaurus. At least that's what they said in the dev stream. And basically the differences between these two with the rest is that these are rare Prism deviations that give you a bunch of Prism energy. So the other Prism deviations will give you a little bit of Prism energy, but these two in particular will give you a lot more, and there's a more limited amount of these. And then you can see that the Radiant one details here are that it can participate in combat to continuously increase the character's actions or create an anti-gravity tower. And then the Azure Dragon, or the Berserkosaurus here, is basically just the same, it seems like, as the Chefosaurus, because it says it works within the territory to help produce food. Now if we head up to the faction story section here, it just gives you a little bit more lore behind each faction, so feel free to pause and read this now if you would like to. And then if we head over to season tags here, there's actually nothing in here, so I wouldn't be surprised if this section was just gone entirely with the launch version of the game, but just wanted to show you that there is nothing under this tag right here, at least in the test server. So if we head back to the phases here, you'll see that there are a total of 4 phases for this scenario. However, the 4th phase is just the settlement phase, so there's really just 3 main phases for this scenario. And you can see whatever phase you are on, it will show the score for each faction here. So you can see that there is 0 Prism energy for both factions. And if we click over on the right side here, you will see a leaderboard for each phase of the scenario. Now, based on how much Prism energy your faction gets, you will be unlocking different Starcrom rewards. So if you get at least 6,000 Prism energy, you will be able to unlock 1,000 Starcrom, as well as all the other Starcrom before it. And the developers also did mention that the top ranking players in the leaderboard will receive a unique and exclusive avatar. So if you are aiming to be one of the best in your faction, that is a reward that you can expect. So if we take a look at phase 1 here on the server, which like I said is already completed, you can see that the faction Prism energy for this phase was 0. It'll also tell you your total personal Prism energy that you contributed, as well as your ranking, and that comes in handy in just a second, so I'll explain that. And then also it says here, secure Prism deviations to obtain Prism energy. Areas with high Prism energy can be viewed on the map. And then you can see the available activities are Mist Zone, the Dark Side, Dig to Hell, Workshop, Hale's Moving House, Cargo Conquest, and the Securement Silos. And then also the map, as we'll talk about shortly, the locked areas are Blackfell East and West. And then of course your Chapter 1 season goals are available, and then if you reach level 20, you can unlock Eternal Land. And you will also get this personal reward for each phase, and they call it fireworks here, but essentially what it is you're calling in a loot crate of Starcrom. So when you call in this loot crate, any other player from your faction can go and open the crate, and they will get 800 Star Crom, and then you will also get 500 Star Crom. You are also apparently able to also open up your crate as well, so that will be a total of 1300 Star Crom that you can get. And it also does say that only one crate from the same faction can be opened per phase, excluding your own crate. So you will be able to open up your own crate and then one other crate from another player. And you can also get better loot crates based on your own personal ranking for the phase. So if we click on view reward details right here, you can see this is the one that it gave us. This is for rank 101 or higher for phase 1, which grants 800 Star Crom. It lasts for 10 minutes before disappearing. And then after the first open, the crate's owner will receive an additional 500 Star Crom. So if we go to this next one here, which is for ranking between 11 and 100, this is the premium fireworks. This will grant 1000 Star Crom. The crate will last for 20 minutes before disappearing, and after 3 openings, the crate's owner will receive an additional 500 Star Crom. And then the best one that you can get is for ranking in the top 10 here. And this is the advanced fireworks, where it will grant 1500 Star Crom. The crate will remain for 1 hour before disappearing, and after 20 openings, the crate's owner will receive an additional 1000 Star Crom. So you can see it's the same for phase 2 as well, and it should be the same for phase 3. So here is a little demo of how the fireworks loot crate works. So I want to give a quick shout out to Glitches, who helped me test this. He's a great Once Human content creator, and I'll put a link to his channel in the description down below. But essentially, when you are using the fireworks, you use the item, you'll see a box spawns on the ground that shoots fireworks up into the air. It will actually put your faction's logo up into the air with the fireworks, so that probably looks pretty cool from a distance. And then you can go ahead and loot your own crate for some Star Crom. And then depending on the type of crate that you called down, after a certain amount of opens from other faction members, you will get a Star Crom reward in the mail. So for the lowest crate, you just need 1 faction member to go ahead and open that crate. For the mid-tier crate, you need 3 people on your faction to go and open your crate. And then for the highest tier crate, you need 20 people to go and open that crate to get that Star Crom reward. And then you can loot a faction's member crate once per phase. So basically the way it works is you can call down your own crate, you can go ahead and loot that crate, and then you can also go ahead and loot 1 faction member crate as well. And then depending on how many people actually open up your crate, you could get a bonus Star Crom reward in the mail. Also, in case you're wondering, if you're on the opposing faction, you cannot open up the other faction's crates. It will tell you that it can't be opened and that it belongs to the other faction. And you can see in the bottom right here that it says Prism deviations available. So it has Azure Dragon. Because we're on phase 2, the Azure Dragon. And you can see in the bottom right, it says Prism deviations available. So different Prism deviations are available throughout the season. In phase 1, only normal deviations from that list are available. When phase 2 hits, the Azure Dragon or the Berserkosaurus will become available as well. And then in phase 3, the Radiant One rare Prism deviation will also become available. So you're able to see on the map how many are currently available, and if we take a look at this, it says when the number of available Prism deviations is greater than 0, they will appear in public crisis events in contest areas based on the scenario phase each day. Gathering and fishing in contest areas also have a chance to generate a small number of Prism deviations. Prism deviations can only exist in contest areas and will escape from your backpack when you enter a safe zone, teleport, or exit the game. You can build securement units in a contest area to secure your Prism deviations and earn Prism energy, which is what you basically what the score is for your faction. And if we take a look at phase 2 right here, you can see that Prism energy is highly active. Obtain even more Prism energy from securing Prism deviations, and Berserkosaurus Rex will now be available. Also, Paradise Lost, Operation Chiron, and hard difficulty are now available. And then Blackfell East is the only locked part of the map. Then they also have these different effects that are happening in phase 2. So they have something called Sanctuary, where from midnight to noon daily, buildings are under protection and take 70% less damage from players. Also Prism Descent, which is kind of what we just covered, where Berserkosaurus Rex is now available, and you can see exactly when that sort of stuff refreshes. They also have something called Turning Point, where if the trailing faction has less than 40% Prism energy, it gains a buff that increases Prism deviation securement speed by 20%. And then, of course, you can see your current rewards here. We just went over all the different fireworks. These are level 2 fireworks here, but basically it is the same rewards that we just saw in phase 1. And if we hop over to phase 3 here, you can see that the Radiant one then becomes available, and then Manibus, Sproutlet Conquest, and Pro difficulty also become available. And then you can also see here the same sort of Sanctuary thing is here, as well as mentioning again Radiant one is available, and then the same thing with Turning Point as well. And if we take a look at the season goals here, this works very similar to the other scenarios that we saw. So you kind of have all these different categories here, but there is a battlefield tab where there's more PvP related things. And then you can see that there is one for Prism deviations here. So that's unique, obviously, to this scenario. And then if we look at the rewards here, they're all pretty much the same as what we've seen before. However, right here, I'm not going to actually hover over it because it's not in English, but there is a Legacy of Conflict crate that you will get. I'm not 100% sure what is in that crate. It looks like it might be some cosmetic items, but it looks like you'll be able to get that through these season goals. And if we hop into phase 2 right here, you can see more of the same kind of stuff here, as well as that battlefield tab with more PvP related things. And then we're also going to be getting another Legacy of Conflict crate down here. And then if we hop over to the rewards, at least for the third phase, you will see that you're also getting this Blackfell Knight avatar frame, as well as this Blackfell Crystal avatar frame for reaching 3 stars here, as well as another Legacy of Conflict crate. And then of course your season honor here as well. And here is the season shop as well. So this season shop is exactly the same as the previous scenario season shops. I know it did say that the Mayfly and Rosetta cosmetics would be available in the seasonal shop, but I'm not seeing them here. But like I said, it could be available in the actual launch version of this scenario. And if we take a look at all the different journeys here, all the journeys are pretty much the same from what I've seen. However, there is a Prismverse Clash category now where there are 2 different things here where you need to successfully capture and secure a Prism deviation, which I've done, and then defeat an enemy faction metahuman in the contest area. Now, if we take a look at the map here, you can see it is still that same area that we've had for the previous scenarios. However, there are some different rules here. So you can see these kind of turquoise areas. They're called safe zones here. So this is where PvP will be disabled. You won't be able to do PvP here, but then you enter into these other areas here called contest areas. This is where you actually need to go and secure the Prism deviations in order to get the Prism energy score for your faction. So this is where PvP is automatically toggled on. So when you're in these areas, just be aware that you are in a PvP zone. And just to show you how it works visually when you're leaving a safe zone and going into a contest area, I'm currently in a safe zone right here, but there is going to be this kind of giant wall that you can go through, and then it will tell you that you are entering a faction battle. So you can see PvP is now toggled on in the top right. And if we were to enter the safe zone again, PvP will still be toggled on for just a few more seconds, but it will eventually turn off. I guess there's a little bit of overlap there, just so that people aren't able to just abuse going in between the safe zone and the contest area, but that's how that works. You'll be able to actually see when you're entering a PvP zone and when you're entering a safe zone. Also, if you're in a contest area, the only way that you can tell that someone is part of the other faction is that their health bar will be red. Also, something else that I did notice is that the level requirements are a little bit different across the map. So obviously, if we're in like the Deadsville area here, this is recommended level 1. But if we head up to the safe area here for Blackfell Fallen Zone, you can see the recommended level is 10. And then if we head over to this contest area here for Central Blackfell, recommended level is 25. And then if we head over to this area, which is the last area to unlock, this is going to be a recommended level of 58 and 60. So it seems like this kind of Blackfell East area, or Eastern Blackfell, is really going to be more of the end game area with the higher level enemies. And there also is going to be a quest apparently called Prismverse Clash, where it says investigate the mysterious deviation causing these spatial disturbances, which I imagine will introduce you to the Prism deviations. However, it's just not working in the test server right now, so I'm not really able to show it. But just as an FYI, there seems to be kind of this introductory quest that you can do. Now, as for getting Prism deviations so you can get Prism energy for your faction, I'll put this graphic up again on the screen showing how you can get all the different Prism deviations. Now, you are guaranteed to get Prism deviations from public crisis events, so I imagine that probably will be the most popular thing to do on the server, but you also have a low chance to get Prism deviations from things like fishing and gathering in contest areas. And once you get those deviations, all you need to do is place them in a securement unit, and then once they are fully secured, you will get Prism energy for your faction. Now, unfortunately, on the test server right here, it actually doesn't show that we're getting any score for capturing these Prism deviations. I think it's just something that's on the test server. But as I showed in the season goals here, if I go to Battlefield, I did actually secure a total of 2 Prism deviations within the territory, which was in a contest area. I just did not get the points for it, I guess because the test server is just not giving us points for those right now. So there you have it, folks. That is Prismverse Clash. So let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. We went over the differences between the factions. We went over the scenario details, the season goals, the map. So I'm really interested to see kind of what your thoughts are. And just as a reminder, this is a 19-day scenario. And if you do join the scenario on day 1, you will still be able to join the Way of Winter PvE scenario releasing on October 17th on day 1. So just wanted to point that out. The developers did confirm that, so if you're looking to play both of those scenarios on day 1, it is possible. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely drop a like and subscribe to help support the channel. Like I said, I've got a lot more content coming, so I hope you guys are excited for that. And feel free to join our Discord community. We've got a few thousand people in there that are always willing to help and answer questions, so feel free to join that community down in the description below. But thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.